Ole Miss got a commitment over the weekend from Johntay Cook. They also have another guy with Syracuse ties. We bring our guy, Jackson Holzer, back into the fold. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network anywhere, I think, and that is all because of fans like you. Thanks for tuning in very much. On today's show, we're going to be talking with Jackson Holzer from Locked On Syracuse about Johntay Cook, and also a little bit try and get to the bottom of the Syracuse angle of the Michael Smith thing as well. We're hot running in the transfer portal, and Ole Miss is absolutely making waves with what is going on. All of this and more on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. And a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is, and that is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every single game day. So, Jackson, really interesting stuff. Ole Miss, we talked just a couple of days ago about Darryl Gill Jr., and after that, you mentioned that hey, Syracuse is good at finding all of these wide receivers as well. Apparently, you shouldn't have said that, Jackson, because somebody at Ole Miss was listening. Johntay Cook committed to the Ole Miss Rebels, and I covered him at the Under Armour All-American game. I guess it was back in 2023 or something like that, and he was one of the 2 or 3 players that I've seen during that time to where you were actually like, wow, he was one of those guys that has basically an unlimited ceiling, but he has had maturity issues in the past that has been his downfall. My question to you is, did his character issues, did his immaturity kind of go away this season for Syracuse?
It sort of did. I mean, you didn't hear anything major happen with Johntay Cook while he was with Syracuse. A lot of that was before Johntay Cook arrived, and that was one of the things that we were cautious about when he came to Syracuse. And it was one of those opportunities for him where this is now going to be the big test. Because when he came to Syracuse, it was, all right, you're with Fran Brown now. You were at Texas. That didn't work out. You were at Washington for a hot minute. That didn't work out at all. So he had to kind of be on his best behavior when he was at Syracuse. And for the most part, he was. And I'll give him credit for that. And he's still young, and I'm not going to sit here and banish this kid for the rest of his life. But now it's a new opportunity. He's going to be more in the limelight now. He's going to have more expectations at Ole Miss. And I'm rooting for him. I hope he succeeds.
Yeah, and this is probably one of those good things to where Oxford, Mississippi, while an oasis in the desert around there, it is still an hour away from Memphis, the closest decent-sized city. So it is kind of easy to do the small town thing a little bit in Oxford, Mississippi.
No question. I mean, it's kind of the same way in Syracuse, New York, too. I mean, yes, it's in the state of New York. It's also 4 hours away from where everyone goes in the state of New York, which is New York City. So, you know, he was at Syracuse. Again, I said this with Darryl Gill. Don't necessarily look at his numbers from a year ago. Trust me, they are better than what he showed on the field. This is someone where if you get the ball in his hands, he is a threat to score a touchdown on any given play. This guy's got elite speed, track speed, I may add. He's electric. He's shifty with the ball in his hands. I like this addition for Ole Miss. He was someone who I wanted Syracuse to prioritize in the transfer portal. Out of like 6 guys, he was on the list. Unfortunately, they just could not come to an agreement contract-wise. He goes out in the portal, and I knew this would happen. I knew somebody was going to go out there and pay him. I mean, he's too talented, and there's too much upside with him to where there's not a better school out there that's going to take a shot at him. So Ole Miss landing it with him, like, yeah, that makes sense.
All right, tell everybody what type of receiver he is, since you got to see a decent number of catches, like 50 catches, about 600 yards over the season, couple of touchdowns. What is Ole Miss getting at wide receiver, and what does he do well?
So let's rewind to Daryl Gill for a moment. Daryl Gill, when you had me on, I described him as someone who he's going to stretch the field, right? But in terms of like a short passing game, he's not really someone you can really rely on. Well, Johntay Cook can do a little bit of both. Johntay Cook is someone who you want to throw him a quick slant, you can throw him a quick slant. You want him to go on a go route, he's got the speed to beat anyone over the top. He is someone who any defense has to be honest when he is on the field. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's Tyreek Hill, because there's only one Tyreek Hill in the history of the universe. But think of it like kind of like that archetype where you can get him the ball in a variety of different ways, but you have to be careful of the fact that if you're a defense and he's on the field, if he runs by you, that's on you, because you know that he has that type of speed.
Yeah, and I view this as a lottery ticket for Ole Miss, because I don't think Johntay Cook has even begun to get near his ceiling of where he can go. I think he got better at Syracuse, a lot better. You could see him flash with what he was doing, but he still has some potential that is untapped. I talk about the Under Armour game in 2023 that I saw him, and you saw just once he got on the field with players that threatened him a little bit as far as good players, you saw his level rise. He is somebody that is going to do what is necessary based on the competition that is in front of him. And Syracuse, with their quarterback situation at a certain point this season, that wasn't a case. You know, in a perfect world, you have Steve Angeli, you're playing Notre Dame and it's a good football game and you're putting up big numbers and all of that. That's not the way it worked out.
No,
I think, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say it's the same thing with Daryl Gill. Like, you look at his numbers and you see 45 catches, 500 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and you're like, what's the big deal about Johntay Cook? And he was at Syracuse and he put up those numbers. What's he going to do in a tougher conference and with Ole Miss? He's going to put up probably 200 yards, right? He'll go back to what he was at Texas, which was not much. I don't see it that way. Like, he was going to have a good year. He was one of the more targeted players in Syracuse's offense. They had a really good passing offense through 4 games. Steve Angeli in that 4th game gets hurt. Everyone's numbers took a nosedive. Why? Because Ricky Collins, who was starting, is now going to be at Kennesaw State. There's a reason why he's at Kennesaw State. The other guy who filled in for the most part was Joe Filardi, who you will see on the lacrosse field in this season. Okay? So don't look at the numbers with him. Yes, there is a lot of upside there. And we've said this with Johntay Cook at Texas. We said this with Johntay Cook, though, at Washington. We said this now at Syracuse. Could this be the spot where he finally realizes that potential? And now going into his 4th year of school, and the fact that last year he did show that he was taking the next step, I think he could have a big year and could, because of his speed especially, see, that's the key, it's the speed, could parlay that into being drafted.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is a money year for Johntay Cook, and that is what Ole Miss fans can count on, the fact that if you want to continue playing football and getting all that opportunity, this year has to be a very good year for Ole Miss football, right?
100%. He, I think, only has 1 year of eligibility left.
Yeah.
He's played in at least 4 games in every season of his career so far in college. I don't know how many draft boards he's on right now, but you take one look at him and you see with him with the ball in his hands and you see his speed. I mean, NFL teams drool over that stuff. In my opinion, I think they overdraft it sometimes. I mean, they overlook guys who are maybe a little bit slower but can actually run routes. Not saying Johntay Cook can't run routes, but you get the idea. This is a prove-it year for Johntay Cook. Last year was all right. Rehabilitate your image, stay clean, be on the field, try to be a good teammate. This year is like, all right, you're at Ole Miss, you're in the SEC, it's time to produce. Because if he doesn't produce, this is it for him with football. Plain and simple.
Yes, absolutely. And when we come back, we will talk to Jackson about another player that has Syracuse ties, and we'll get his thoughts on that as well. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. The college football playoff is, well, honestly, tonight. The final game of the college football season is here, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game day of the playoffs. Because right now, every college football playoff game, FanDuel users are getting a profit boost that are waiting for them in the app. Here's what I love about it. You use the profit boost on the bets you already feel good about. Ride with the favorite when you think the team can win the matchup. Take a shot at the underdog when you feel the upset coming, or build a parlay around the players or moments you think decide games. Then you apply the profit boost and go after even bigger winnings. And when you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all season long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff boost every single game day. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle absolutely everything from W-2s to self-employment forms, and the work you get done is every deduction. They try to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives a real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150, all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th, take taxes off your plate, and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com to book your appointment today. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcatcher you're listening to, and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but it helps keep all of this free. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in the world. That's all because of fans like you, and thank you for listening. You already live your team every single day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. No interruptions, members-only Discord access, and even more is available for you, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonolemist.supercast.com or check out the link down in the show notes to learn more. So Johntay Cook, obviously he is the person everybody's talking about, but there's another player that Ole Miss got a commitment from that does have a little bit of Syracuse ties. Now, he wasn't a commit to Syracuse for very long, but Michael Smith was the tight end that was committed and has committed since then to Ole Miss. First off, tell me what you know when you were researching Michael Smith about what type of player he is.
What I know is that he is a big lottery ticket. He is 6'6", 250 pounds. He dealt with some injuries last year at South Carolina, so he fell down the depth chart. He did get on the field as a true freshman and was a 4-star tight end out of high school, so that's where the lottery ticket comes into play, and also his size is just tantalizing for anyone, right? When I had Brian Smith on, football scout, right? He works at the Locked On Podcast Network, hosted Locked On Portal Podcast, all that fun stuff. He said if there's anyone you're going to take a chance on in the transfer portal, because this is what it is. It is purely a chance. We don't know what he is going to end up being. You take a chance on someone that's 6'6", 250 pounds. So
He can run.
He can run. He's athletic. He hasn't produced so far. It makes you wonder why South Carolina didn't seem all that hell-bent on keeping him. But, you know, teams and scouts and coaches can be wrong. I mean, this stuff happens all the time across any level where someone's wrong to let someone go. And I don't think Syracuse wanted to let Michael Smith go. And I don't look, it's the transfer portal. It's the wild, wild west. I'm not going to sit here and complain about how Syracuse didn't get Michael Smith, but it was just so weird and fascinating how I got that alert one day about how Michael Smith is now a member of Ole Miss after he had committed to Syracuse. Funny how that works, but, you know, It's a lottery ticket. So if he becomes an All-American tight end next season, good for him.
So did he sign anything to your knowledge at Syracuse?
I'm not sure if I think he did actually, because I think there was a report maybe a few days earlier that like he wanted to get out of his contract. I think it was from 247 Sports. I read it somewhere where he wanted to get out of his contract. And I think Syracuse was like holding back a little bit, but I thought it was originally to return to South Carolina. And then he commits to Ole Miss. So I don't know what happened, but I think he was originally really committed to Syracuse. And then I think both just did right by themselves and let him go.
Well, if they sign something, a rev share agreement, obviously Ole Miss has some money going up to Syracuse. That was the reason I asked. If rev share is involved, there is a buyout that has to be paid.
Yes. I mean, technically, yes. And I think that is something between Syracuse and Ole Miss that they probably worked out themselves. I can't come on here and give you the inner workings of how that contract was made or anything like that. But I do believe that there was something signed, because if there wasn't something signed, then it would have been as easy as Michael Smith just commits to Ole Miss and there wouldn't be any sort of message post about it, because I could sit here and say, hey, I just did this. But if there's no pen to paper, it means nothing.
Yes. For instance, like Luke Farrelly, the Cal linebacker that ended up going to Clemson, did not sign his rev share agreement and decided to go to Ole Miss, which means there was nothing signed from the beginning. He was enrolled and going to meetings and all of that stuff, but there was nothing there to stop him from going in the portal. Apparently, Ole Miss is not going to owe a buyout on Luke Farrelly.
Correct. And I'll relate it to an even bigger one. I mean, it's the other way around now with Darian Mensah at Duke. Darian Mensah signed at Duke. I don't know if Duke is going to fight back on Darian Mensah with the transfer portal. So I think Syracuse at the end of the day, they did right by Michael Smith, especially if Michael Smith is just getting a boatload of money to come to Ole Miss. I mean, good for him. So I'm not going to complain about it. I don't think Syracuse was Michael Smith away from being much more than what they are right now. So I'm happy that you guys got him. He was here for like a week and a half. You didn't see him on the field at all. There's not much film on him to begin with.
Syracuse legend, Michael Smith.
Syracuse legend, Michael Smith. We had John Mackey is an alum of the school, right? It's not going to be the John Mackey thing anymore. It's going to be the Michael Smith now, the next Michael Smith. I mean, that's what it's going to be like at Syracuse.
All right, before I let you go, who do you got tonight and why?
I got Indiana. Because they are the more complete football team. I think Miami is that team of destiny type feel, but Indiana is just bludgeoning teams right now, left and right. I do think it could be closer than what a lot of people are expecting, but I think Indiana is going to pull away late. And so I think I last weekend said 27-13. So I'm going to go 27-13 Indiana.
So one thing's interesting. You're going to see the hot takes from all of these supposed know-it-all journalists out there about how Indiana winning a national championship is a miracle on ice story because of what they are. And I'm like, no. I'm pushing back on that, because if Indiana wins, they're the Soviets in that story.
I would say they're a little bit of both, because they are like if the 1980 U.S. Olympic team became the Soviets, like in the same breath, like all of a sudden they just did not lose. Which they only tied one game in that tournament, by the way. But you get the idea, because this Indiana team, it's not like they're loaded with blue chip talent. It's not like when they got Fernando Mendoza, everyone was saying he was going to win the Heisman Trophy and be the number one pick. So in that aspect, they kind of are a miracle story. But then you watch them over the course of the season and they morph from like, oh, wow, this is a really cool story. Look at what Indiana's doing to, oh, they're just by far and away the better team. Like, they're just better than everyone. So that's why I would say they're not the miracle on ice. They're the miracle on ice turned into the Soviets.
Yes. Okay. You've got a team with a bunch of 27, 26-year-olds for Indiana, Soviets. You have a coach that has obviously no sense of humor whatsoever, Soviets. They're playing the game in Miami, the home territory of the other team. That's Miami. Yeah,
Are they communists too?
I'm not going to get into the economic aspects and political what's going on, but if you look at these tropes that people came out of that Miracle on Ice thing, you can almost checklist down Indiana from all the stuff that everybody said about the Soviets.
Well,
now, a lot of that has me being old enough to kind of remember that, but yeah.
That's why I would say it's a little bit of both, because they don't have a lot of 4 and 5-star talent on their roster. I mean, it's usually when you look at a national championship team, the majority of that team is blue chip talent, 4 and 5-star players. That's not Indiana. Yeah, Indiana's older. Indiana's bigger. Nobody thought Fernando Mendoza was winning the Heisman Trophy. Indiana came into this season as you did.
No. The Soviets didn't have any professional players on their team.
Yeah, that's because the NHL and that's some of those who was there? Boris Mikhailov was their number 1 center. He'd be like the best player in the NHL if he was playing at that time.
Well, the Russian line that happened for the Detroit Red Wings had like 2 or 3 players off of that Russian team on there, and they were like 38 years old and really great. I'm just saying that you could say that, oh yeah, these were amateur players for the Soviet Union. No. It's kind of like at this point having 26-year-old players and Indiana having good players. It's like, he was a 2-star in high school.
Fair. I guess I would call him a little bit of both. Can we agree on that? A little bit of both.
Yeah, but a little bit. Now, the history of Indiana being bad, I mean, traditionally the worst program in the Power Four. Yeah, there's no history with Indiana. If they win that, it's a great story. I'm just saying it's not a Miracle on Ice story.
Fair enough. We'll agree on that. I mean, it's just they came in 20th in the preseason poll. Their first game against Old Dominion, they were not exactly impressive. Their first play on defense was actually allowing a touchdown. Fernando Mendoza at Cal was fine in the ACC. He was fine. Syracuse actually played him and beat him in Cal. They just all of a sudden they went from like oh wow, they're actually pretty good. They're doing it the same thing they did last year too. I think the moment where I think we all started to wake up and realize how good this Indiana team was when they went to Oregon.
Yeah.
And they won, because nobody goes into Oregon and wins. No, but not even Ohio State, who won the national championship last year and bludgeoned them in the college football playoff, went into Oregon last regular season and won. Very, very difficult place to play. And Indiana went in there, no problem. Cool, calm, collected, clearly the better team. And from that moment on, it's like, yeah, they're better than everyone else. Then the Big Ten championship happens and they beat Ohio State. They've done everything to this point. Now it's just tonight. It's either going to be a coronation or what the bleep happened to them.
Exactly. Anyway, Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse, thank you so much for stopping by. And the next, I guess, Syracuse wide receiver commit that commits to Ole Miss, we'll have you on again, buddy.
Would you like Cole Weaver? He was at Miami, Ohio last year. He's been committed to us. You want him? He's available.
Yeah, I don't know. With the Michael Smith thing, it was just like, okay, this is getting weird.
It's 3 Syracuse guys you got. I mean, it might as well be the Ole Miss Orange.
Exactly. Anyway, take care, buddy, and we'll talk to you later.
Take care, Steven. Thank you for having me on.
All right. Thanks for tuning in today for the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. We'll continue to talk transfer portal all week long. Make sure you subscribe and follow the show to get all of the latest episodes. We're on all the social channels as well, so check that out. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Ole Miss ad-free, plus members-only Discord access, and even more. Head to lockedonolemess.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on YouTube, we're going to send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is Locked On College Football. Locked On SEC is available for you as well. Hotty toddy, everybody. Johntay Cook's going to be a heck of a player. Special thanks to Jackson for coming on the show today. Hotty toddy, everyone.